And I went to jump off a cliff, man. I just couldn't handle my life anymore. Couldn't give up drugs. I was homeless on and off. I had nothing to my name. 26 years old at this point, and I was going nowhere in my life, man. It was a sense of hopelessness.
From struggling on the streets of Sydney to thriving as a young individual, meet John Paul Jr. He's learned to become his own person. From the struggles of being homeless and thousands of people constantly crossing him, to giving out love and persevering on the other side. He's helping the homeless by providing shelter and food and even giving money. John's kind acts have really transitioned across the platforms. With his newfound business, Calm Palm Australia, he's really helping out individuals suffering anxiety, depression,
there is going
and
to be
really
a
putting a
divine
positive
intervention, Lord God, a
aspect
divine
out there.
intervention of your holiness right now, Lord God. And there is going to be a shift in his life, Father. There is going to be freedom upon freedom upon freedom in your name and only your name, Lord God. And he's going to look to you knowing that you changed his
Listen to
life.
John Paul's story this episode.
All right. How's it going, everybody? Isaac from Nite Talk. Please, I don't usually do this, but I'm gonna try and see if this method works. Please go and subscribe. Subscribe to my Spotify. Subscribe to my YouTube, Google Podcasts. Listen to all the episodes. I've got a few episodes there from athletes, musicians. Check it out, and just stay up there. We've got plenty of guests coming up. Now, I'd like to introduce Johnny. I'm gonna shake your hand, man. How's it going?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Really good to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
I'm super intrigued. I like to try and change it up, and try and get a bit of different folks on. So, how have you been? How's your day been?
Mate, day's been incredible. Been sort of just getting ready for this, to be honest. Yeah, it's been pretty.
Man. Yeah, I literally just got a haircut on the way. I was like, have been running around the last few days. I'm like, I need to go get a cut real quick. And I literally was like walking to the barber. I'm like, have you got the time for like a 30-minute haircut? He's yeah, I've got a podcast I need to be at, so I quickly got one, ran here. So man, always be on point. But man, it's good to have you on. I've been looking into the work you've been doing, and wanting to give back to the community. It's really good, man, and it's good to have people like you out there trying to spread a positive vibe. And I think faith is so important. And it's so, important to the journey of what makes you. Me being spiritual, I've definitely had my challenges, and having that spiritual journey I've been through, and trying to reconnect with God in a sense, trying to find my belief, it's definitely helped build me up.
Absolutely.
So to have you on, it's a pleasure, man.
Man, I appreciate that. And if I could just give you a word of encouragement before we start, is that having faith doesn't mean that we're going to be like our life's going to be smooth sailing. It doesn't mean there's not going to be rough waters. It just means that we can rely on God and Jesus to make that we're going to have an end to that. You know what I mean? That we have a safe space to go to. And so if I could just encourage you, man, it's like the rough waters are actually good for us because it teaches us to have complete trust in God.
100%.
So yeah.
I think it's very important to, find and reconnect with yourself, because I was looking at some of the reels that obviously you've been on the other podcasts, and you talked about how everyone's kind of like in a rat race, being stuck in that rat race.
Absolutely.
And I think what you're trying to, present is, everyone needs to get out of that rat race and try and find themselves. Is that what you're trying to present?
Absolutely, mate. I think we're conditioned from young to be workers, essentially. We go to school at a certain time, 9 a.m. We get lunch breaks. We have to ask the teacher when we can go to the bathroom. We get told our schedule. We have to do homework. We have to do assignments. Throughout our whole school experience, it's non-stop teaching us to be workers. And it's that small percentage to have the creativity and the courage, I would call it courage 100%, to step out of that rat race.
Yeah.
Because let's look at the school compared to work. Work, 9 o'clock you start. Lunch break, finish, you have deadlines, you have things that you have to do at home for work and all this sort of stuff. And all through our lives, we're taught to be workers. So for me, it's just that my goal is to try and help people and educate people enough to get to a point where they're able to step out of that and have the courage to step into a business.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I feel like individualism is a really good aspect to that as well.
Yeah.
Because once you start realizing, what's around you, and what you've been raised into, and how I feel like now it's become more of a normality. Like it's normal to be working 9 to 5, and I feel like when you do get stuck in the rat race, and I can definitely relate to that, man.
Yeah.
There's no clear vision. There's nothing presented but just working. That 9 to 5, earning your money. And I've got a lot of respect to people that really hustle and really try and save, because at the end of the day you need to provide. If you have a family,
Absolutely.
and it is hard like that. But what you're trying to present is if you can build your character. And I always say this in every episode, building your character, it's so important. If you build your character, if you get out of that cycle, you can see endless opportunities.
100%. And look, I'm not telling anybody to go out there and quit their job and then start a business, because that's the first thing I tell everybody that I help out is keep your 9 to 5 and work on something on the side until that gets big enough to then sustain you. Because I see this happen a lot, is that people will quit their job, they save up like 60, 50 grand, whatever it is, to then go out and step out into this business venture, right? Then what happens is life throws curveballs. Insurance, sickness, whatever happens, and then they have to use money from that. Or some people go out and they've been working in this big fancy office their whole lives. They go out and they deck out their house, they deck out their office, now have this big fancy thing. For what reason? They spend all their money on setting themselves up. They have no money to sustain themselves. So what I ask people that come to me to help them start a business is that to keep your 9 to 5. And that's what I did with my business. I kept my 9 to 5. I said, my 7 to 3, I was a tradesman. And then I worked on my business in the afternoons, man, and at night time and early in the mornings to get myself to a point where now it's gone crazy, man. It's gone absolutely mental, my business, and I don't have to go to work anymore. I can just sit at home and do my work from home, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's what everyone is trying to achieve, but it's a matter of taking that step, and it is a risky step because, having work to support, it's there to support you, it's there to support you financially, but it doesn't make you happy at the end of the day, and that's where a lot of people fall into that trap. Would you agree to that?
Well, yeah, but then that's why the method that I ask my people that come to me to work with me, is that there's no risk. So if you essentially still have your 9 to 5, you still got finances coming in, but people are so unhappy with their jobs and so unhappy with their lives and work in that 9 to 5, is they go home and then they do nothing. They sit down, they watch Netflix, they go on Instagram for 2 hours, 3 hours. Go home and study. Educate yourself on how to start a business. There's so much we live in an era of education and information, but no one's doing anything with it. They're just absorbing it, and then nothing's happening from it.
There's a whole network of just endless possibilities.
100%.
With the internet is right in front of us, and everything is there for the grasp, but I feel like people just don't know where to start.
That's it. That's the issue, not where to start. So that's where I've come to. So I started a company about 2-3 weeks ago that I find supplies for people. I find a product, I build their website, do everything for them because people don't know where to start. That's the insane thing. So but I haven't stopped learning myself. So over the last 3 weeks, I've invested almost $20,000 into learning new things and new courses and networking and doing all this sort of thing, because you can never stop learning.
No, you can never can. Never can.
So for me, it's just one of those things that I've just consistently got to keep pushing myself to do. And anyone that's listening to this, just educate yourself. Know where to start, come up with an idea, and then pursue it a little bit. There's so much research out there that you can do. Is this going to be a profitable business? Will this sell? And see worldwide what it's selling, what the profit margins are, and all that sort of thing. So then you can understand that if it's going to be profitable or not.
Yeah, exactly. See if it's a need that people actually want.
Absolutely.
If people just, are wanting it because it looks cool, then you never know whether it's going to sell or not. But if it's a natural need, if it's high in demand, it's a good quote from the Wolf of Wall Street, good movie. But, it's something that's in, high in demand, people will go for it.
Absolutely. So my business, Calm Palm Australia, it's a device that helps with insomnia and anxiety. Everybody in this world struggles to sleep at one point. And I know about 98% of this population definitely has anxiety at one point in their life. So my product has a very big high demand. So it sells well and it does really well.
Oh, wow.
So my video now on Facebook and Instagram, so I do a lot of Facebook and Instagram marketing, has 4.5 million views in 18 months. So it's really taken off. It's got to a point now where it's starting to sustain me in an incredible way, and I can now venture on to doing other things because it's sustaining itself.
Oh, it's unbelievable, mate.
Yeah.
Well, the matter of fact is, you built a business, but as well, you're building a community around it. Is that what you're trying? Was that your goal in the start of it?
Yeah, well, it wasn't my goal at the start, but it is my goal now, because I think in Australia, we are very poor at building community around us.
Yeah.
Especially men. Men, we struggle massively to surround ourselves with other like-minded men that want to build their lives and do all this sort of thing, because we'll be right. We have a culture of doing everything ourselves, not worrying about anything else, not getting help from anybody. I don't want that culture. I want to be a part of a culture that is inviting to others to help and to build each other up. Yeah. So I joined a thing recently called CUB. It's called Club of United Business, and it's in the city. It's a whole networking, it's a massive networking sort of agency. Incredible. So every week they have courses on to do this, or like digital marketing or property or cash flow and things like that. And the networking is insane. So that's what we need to start building. We need to build a culture within Australian men and women, but mostly men, because I feel like women have a very good network around them.
Yeah.
And not so much. So men is build each other up, man. Be there for each other, help each other, celebrate each other starting businesses. Have a party for one another. Yeah. Have a party for your mate for starting a business. Like buy from him if you don't, even if you're not going to use a product, buy from him. Just support him in that way.
Yeah.
I think we need to get better at that.
I feel like it's really important as well. Like men have this load, the whole world on top of them, where it's like, you're a man, you should be able to do this and this and this, but really we're only one person. And if we network and, combine as one to a sense, it's endless opportunities.
Yeah.
Having that same mindset too, and having that mindset of, growing and building positive communities around Australia is something that we should all, make a step towards.
I couldn't agree with you more there, man. Could not agree with you more. I think Australia, and like I see countries around the world, like America have pretty, like you see Americans, I think they're pretty good at this. Some American people are, is that they're very good at getting together and having events and all this sort of thing, which is cool. In Australia, I never see like a men's group hanging out or building each other up or anything. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we need to get better, because the suicide rate for men is 80% out of all suicide, or I think it's 85%. 85% of all suicides are male. Yeah. We're going through an identity crisis where we're lonely and we don't have each other to fall back on. Where women, I think, do a phenomenal job of getting around each other. Your girlfriend, like all this sort of thing like that. They're very good at encouraging each other and being there for each other. Whereas men, we're taught from a really young age, just to toughen up, be a man, don't cry, don't show emotions. Nah, man. You can't do that anymore.
It's not. Nah.
So we need to get better at that. And I hope that I can be used as a vessel to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it, and I'm going to go on to a faithful aspect about it.
Yeah.
Is this, your creator? Is this, the God that you follow, telling you, this is your job. This is your job to present to these people, to guide these people. Is that how you've taken it upon you? Or is this more to a fact of, this is something you feel obligated to do?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's a bit of both, to be honest. I feel like it's an obligation because I want to leave this world a better place than when I came into it. With so much darkness and hatred and anger and all this sort of stuff within the world. If I can be somebody that brings light and brings happiness and brings joy and brings the love of Jesus to this world, then that's all I want to do, man. I want to spend my entire life helping people, whether it be women, whether it be men, whether it be homeless, no matter what walk of life you come from. I will do my absolute best to make sure that you're looked after and helped. I don't care. If you're my enemy, I will help you. If you hate me, I'll help you. I don't care. So I think it's almost a bit of both. It's like a godly thing where I have that godly aspect, because as a Christian, you're taught to show the love of Christ consistently.
Yeah.
Even if people hate you, if people do something bad against you, forgive them as you have been forgiven. That's all I can possibly do, is just consistently forgive people, love people, and build people up. And that's all I plan on doing.
I feel like that's so important as well. Like that one thing to bring up where you were saying, love your enemy, because I feel like, in the past, and I'll bring it back to me, I feel like in the past I've had enemies, but I've always tried to show love. I've always tried to show them guidance, because you're not grown up as the villain. You can become the villain. Not everyone's born evil. You can become evil because of what's thrown in, in your path.
Agreed.
I do believe that. I think evil's just a testament to the trials we face in life.
Yeah.
Whether you fall into that pit and emerge in that dark aspect, there's always a light at the end of the day. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And I feel like what you're trying to say, showing love to your enemies, that's such a good quote.
Absolutely. There's, like, one of my favorite quotes is that through trials and tribulations, you can either become bitter or you can become better. And I choose better. Without trials, without hardships, without pain, we wouldn't appreciate the good times as much as we do. And it's life, and our human soul and our spirit and our character is almost like a muscle. A muscle only grows once it's traumatized. When you go to the gym, you're trying to make it traumatized. You're ripping muscle fibers and you're putting it under trauma. So you're ripping the muscle fibers and muscle cells to make it grow. So when it grows back, it becomes stronger. The human soul is no different to that. As we go through trials and tribulations, as we go through adversities, as we go through hardships, our soul and our spirit gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. So just recently, I was actually going through a really tough time, and I just started to remind myself, one more day, just do one more day. Just take it day at a time. Don't think about 3 days, 4 days, 2 weeks, a year ahead. Think of what's right in front of you right now. Take it a day at a time. You got through yesterday. Let's just get through today. And that's all it does. And then after a while, man, the trials began to sort of cease a little bit, because I wasn't so worried and encapsulated about the future and what the future was holding. I was just looking at what was right in front of me right now. And I think oftentimes we can get caught up in the mindset of like, oh man, this is too big for me. I don't know what's going to happen in the... Focus on what's right in front of you right now. Dissect what the most important part of your life is and what the most important thing that you need to take care of, and just do one task at a time to get that done. Then on to the next thing, and then on to the next thing. One foot in front of the other, one step at a time. A journey or a destination is not reached by just jumping there. It's one step at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
That walk is that one step at a time. That's all you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
So anxiety also comes from thinking about the future too much. Oh my God, like what does it...
Worrying about what's actually not happened yet. Exactly.
95% of the time.
It's all the time.
Yeah, you just make it up in your head and you think this is good, but nothing ever happens a lot of the time. So we imprison ourselves in anxiety a lot of the time when we shouldn't. We should just relax and just let God take control, or just let life be as it is. Let's enjoy the moments in front of us.
Let life flow as it should.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what's going to happen or the things that are going to come. It's like, at the end of the day, when that day comes, you face that day.
Absolutely.
And you take it with pride, whether you fail or whether you overcome it,
That's it. There's a verse in the Bible that I absolutely have taken completely out of context, but I love it. And it's pretty cool. Maybe I haven't taken it out of context, I'm not sure. But it's in Luke 6, and it talks about anybody that puts their hand to the plow and looks backwards is not fit to serve in the kingdom of God. So it's essentially talking about, so how they used to plow back in the day is they didn't have lines or anything that would go off. They would have a center point ahead of them that they would look at.
Yeah.
And then they would walk towards it. And then if you look backwards, what happens? So you're on the plow, you look backwards, go off course, and you have to go back and do it again. So then if you consistently look back, it's going to be like this.
Exactly.
What people do is that they consistently look back of what has happened, and then they think that the future is going to be exactly the same as that. If you want your future to be different to your past, then you've got to rethink and redo and do things differently to how you've done them in the past.
Exactly.
So anxiety comes from what has been, thinking that it's going to be like that in the future.
Exactly.
You have control of what's happening right now. So control what's in front of you to make sure that the outcome in the future is different.
Yeah, that's honestly beautiful, man. Like, it's so true. And like, living in the past as well is so dangerous, because you're thinking about the things that happened, that traumatized you, that you're holding back and not letting go. And I feel like you have to take yourself away from what's been hurting you and venture off yourself. And that's one thing I did. I ventured off found myself, came back, and I was a new person.
Absolutely.
Like new person, had goals in sight, and just changed. And I feel like, going back to what we're saying about the rat race, when you're just constantly in that same cycle every single week, you don't have time to reflect on life. You don't have time to actually, reflect what happened.
Yeah.
You're constantly just, thinking about what did happen.
Yeah. Jordan Peterson says something is that at the end of every night, sit yourself at the end of your bed and think about something you did that day that you did not like, that you really, really did not like, and ask yourself why you did it. So whatever it is that like maybe trauma has caused us to then become complacent in where we are.
Yeah.
We don't think that there's a future ahead of us because we don't think that we're worthy of it. I think COVID was a prime example of why people got so upset and being like, I'm not going to get into the topic of COVID.
Yeah.
That's something that I want to talk about. It's more so being isolated and being by ourselves caused a lot of people to go crazy, because I was reading this book recently during COVID lockdown actually, and it talks about the egocentric person. Okay, and what happens is that the human body or the human person is composed of three things: the flesh, the ego, and the spirit. The flesh wants to feel good, the ego wants to look good, and the spirit wants to do good. Now, when we act out of our flesh and our ego, we then go against the soul, the spirit. Now, when we go against the spirit, we end up hating ourselves because we're not doing what is good. We're doing what is easy with our flesh and to look good. Like you can look good for a moment, but what are you trying to look good for? So I really started to tackle my ego during COVID lockdown. The reason why I hated being by myself at the beginning of lockdown is because I hated myself. Imagine for a moment, there's somebody that you really, really hate. Yeah. And then you have to hang around them all the time. Man, you'd be angry yourself, right?
Of course, yeah.
Imagine if that person was you. You hate yourself and you have to be around yourself all the time. You're going to be angry. So when you really begin to love yourself in a sense that I might not get it right all the time, but I'm still going to love myself through the pain. I'm still going to love myself through my failures. I'm still going to love myself when I don't get it right, and understand that I'm made by God, beautifully and wonderfully made in His image. And man, nothing can take away from that. Yeah. I began to love myself, man, and I love myself into success.
That's it. If you're spreading love, then you're going to attract people like that. If you're hating yourself and you're hating the world around you, then you're going to be spreading negativity, but in a sense bringing down people to your level, and it's not a good feeling. It really isn't. And that is a great testament what you're saying. Love yourself. Love yourself is probably the most powerful word right there. Yeah, because you love yourself, then you can blossom to anything afterwards.
Absolutely. How can you love others if you don't know what love is? Because I can tell you right now, I struggled to let people love me for so many years because of my childhood, man.
Yeah.
My childhood was messed up. I didn't let anybody love me for many, many years. And when I met God, when I went to church, when I changed my life around, that was the first time in my whole entire life, after 27 years of living on this earth, I felt love. And it was unconditional. Unconditional, man. It means that no matter how much I stuff up, God still loves me. No matter what I do, God's still there. No matter how much I turn my back on Him, He ain't going nowhere, man. He still loves me.
He's watching over you. I think He's just watching over all of us. And, everyone's like, where's God? Where was God where I need Him? It's like, that's not how it works. I think God is just watching over us, and He's placing these tests, these trials where whether you fail or whether you overcome it or whether you fail and come back. I feel like everything that is presented in life, whether we're lost or whether we're trying to find ourselves, it's all a test.
Yeah. But oftentimes I don't think God puts trials in our way, man. Oftentimes we put trials in our way.
True. No, true. I can definitely say it.
God never made you date that person that's then treated you poorly. God's never made you do drugs. God's never done anything, man. God protects you and loves you. Oftentimes we are the ones that are putting ourselves in trials and bad places.
Yeah, true. That is a good point.
God protects us. God brings us out of there. He will use the bad for good. That's what He does. So we blame God for all this sort of stuff, but it's easier for us to point than to look in the mirror. I began my whole life shifted, man. When I started to change my narrative. My narratives were like, this person did wrong to me. This person did, I'm here because of this person. But then God was like, no, son, look in the mirror. No one forced you to do that. No one forced you to do that. You done that. I was with you the whole time and I loved you and I protected you because you don't know how that could have gone wrong if I wasn't there protecting you.
Yeah, exactly.
And the situation where I can look back and think about that, God's hand was definitely over me and protecting me, even though I was so far away from him. So if anyone is listening to this, take accountability. Until you do, you're validating your BS. Because if you don't take accountability, you'll always look for other people to blame. And then you're not blaming yourself, man. Blame yourself for once. Take accountability and change your life. You're the only one that's in control. If you allow somebody else's actions towards you to stop you from going forward, you're their prisoner.
Yeah, exactly.
You're their prisoner. Because if you do something to hurt me, and then I'm looking at you, I'm like, it's your fault that I'm here. Nah, man. I'm not going to be anybody else's prisoner ever. I've got control. I can walk. I can leave the house. I can do whatever I want to do. I can change my life around, man. Simple as that.
You've got that momentum. You've got the ability to do that. And I feel like one powerful thing that humans have compared to every other species is the voice. And with the voice, it can, dictate a whole nation. It can dictate a whole movement. It can really, spread a positive message. The voice is so powerful. I feel like that's what we've been gifted. It's good that we have these platforms because you're not only just putting it out in the space, you're putting it out to the world. You're letting people out there that are suffering, maybe facing these challenges where they're lost. And I feel like one thing I like to touch on is being like a university student back in 2021. I was thrown into this cycle of just study, and I didn't give myself the time to just find myself and find what I actually love in life. And you get thrown into that cycle. You neglect everything. You just working that 24 that 9 to 5, and you become so miserable. And I had to take that step and be like, no, like I have control of my life, just like what you're saying. You have control of your life. You can change what's around you. If you don't like a situation, you can change that. You can do something that you love. And that's the power there. Like,
absolutely,
you got to do what you love.
Absolutely. But and also what you're saying there is in order to become everything that you're meant to be, you must first become everything that you're not meant to be in order to figure that out.
Yeah, definitely.
So I could never ever have wanted to become a businessman or whatever without all the failures that I've gone through, all the things that I've done. I was a drug addict. I was homeless. I was just a horrible person. So I had to become a really bad person first in order for me to become a good person.
To find that out. That makes sense.
So I became everything that I shouldn't be and everything that I'm not in order to become everything that I am and step into everything that I am. And I think that's the most powerful thing, is that if you find yourself acting out of a bad place or you're not who you're meant to be, learn from it and move on. Okay, this is who I am now. I don't want to be this person anymore. Let's start making some changes. The beautiful thing about human minds and humans in particular is that we have the ability to change. Our brain has the ability to change and transform. Neuroplasticity. New pathways are being formed every single day. Whether you speak to yourself poorly, whether you speak to yourself good, we have the ability to change. Neuroplasticity. So with the ability to change means that if you can change your mindset and change your mind and how you think, you can change your life. I don't speak to myself poorly anymore. I don't say, I did this. I'm such an idiot for doing that. I'm so stupid for doing this. I'm so stupid. No, I don't speak to myself like that. Because if you consistently tell yourself you're stupid, what's going to happen? You're going to think
you're going to believe that.
Yeah. So I don't if somebody speaks to me poorly, I pull them up on it now. I'm like, hey, I don't appreciate it. People don't like it, but I don't let anybody speak to me poorly. I don't speak to myself poorly. And that comes from a place of self-love as well. What we talked about before.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, self-love is like the biggest thing to have in life. And, having self-love, you can love yourself, and then, all the things that you were holding back before, hating yourself and, I got into this situation and, I didn't do this right. It's like, don't think of it as mistakes. Think of it as, this was meant to happen. And I'm sure within your life, you've undergone, a rough journey, but you've come out the other end and, you've looked back at life and said, you know what, I'm glad I went through all that because now I'm in the position I am today. You know, do you reflect on what's happened in the past and to how it's made you now?
Absolutely. I just want to touch on something. When we say self-love, it doesn't mean that you love yourself enough to think that you're better than anybody. That's not the self.
No.
Just loving who you are as a person.
Like purity.
Yeah, like a pure love. Like, hey, I'm okay the way I am, but I want to change. I'm not okay. I'm not actually perfectly okay, but I'm not the worst that I could be. It's just time for me to consistently get better. I love myself enough to know that I'm worth better, and I can give myself better than what I'm giving myself now. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. We're not loving ourselves in an egotistical way.
No.
We're loving ourselves in like a pure way. Like, I love who I am, and I love who God created me to be.
Yeah, you're waking up in the morning saying, you know what, God, I love life, you know, and maybe this day may not be the best. You're not going to go into it with open arms, and you know, I'm going to spread love. Yeah.
Do you know what the beautiful thing, and it's so simple and so good, that works so perfectly for me? As soon as I open my eyes in the morning, I thank God for 3 things that I'm grateful for. And right before I go to bed, I thank God for 3 things that I'm grateful for. And when you wake up for the first thing in the morning, you're like, God, I'm so grateful for this, this, and this. Man, it's just the gratitude overwhelms you. Like, I've got a roof over my head now.
Exactly.
Like I said to you before, man, I was homeless for 12 years of my life. So to come out of homelessness, to be able to live in an apartment, now food on my table, food in the fridge, to be able to go out and help the homeless now with the things that I'm doing. So every month, my business compound, we take $1 from every sale, or $2 from every sale, and we go out and buy sleeping bags, buy face wipes, buy deodorant, buy undies, socks, and all sorts of little things for the homeless. And we go out and hand it to them, man. And then we go out, we feed them, we chill with them, we talk with them. And I thought I was changing people's lives, man. It's literally my life that's been changed.
Yeah.
Because there's no greater feeling. It's almost selfish at times that I go out and give, man, because of how it makes me feel. Like, I'll never be able to forget those feelings of how it makes me feel, man. It is literally the most incredible feeling in the world, going out and helping somebody that cannot give anything back to you. And I want to educate people on how to do so. Because when you see a homeless person, people are like, oh, like, I want to help them, I don't know how to.
Yeah.
So if I can then educate people, like, hey, let's just do this one thing at a time. Just go speak to them. Go ask them how their day was. Because something I've said on other podcasts before is that imagine for a moment you're sitting on the floor begging, and you have tens of thousands of people walking past you every single day.
Be in their perspective, be in their shoes for the minute.
It's almost like it's almost like they're invisible, bro. We've all felt rejection in our life. Every single one of us has felt rejection. Not onto that level. It took me many years of therapy and praying and all this sort of thing for me to get to a place where I'm like, hey, I'm actually lovable. Because for so many years I was rejected. For so many years I was invisible to the world. I probably have like 1 or 2 conversations a week with somebody. Somebody would actually, 1 or 2 out of 10,000, 100,000 people walking past me weekly, I'd have 2 conversations with people. Imagine that level of rejection.
That's sad, man. It's really sad. And it's sad to think because, you know, there's so many people in this world. We should all be loving each other. We should all take 1 minute of our life and, you know, look at the person that's, you know, and think, what, you know, how they get to this position. You know, how can I help them? You know, how can I help them out? How can I put them on the right path? And the fact that people are, you know, too caught up in their own lives and, you know, worrying about what's going on in front of them, they really just forget what's happening around the world. And you know what you've experienced, you know, being that person as well and experiencing that is, you know, it must have been very tough.
It was. Look, I don't ever like to sort of point the finger at people. You guys should be doing more, because everyone's going through their own thing.
Of course,
and everyone's struggling, and I understand that, man, but we should be doing more. We definitely should be. Churches should be doing more. Churches should be building homeless shelters, drug rehabilitation centers. The government needs to be doing more.
Definitely.
So the government, we've got housing commission and we've got houses for these homeless people. That's cool. All that's all right. But let's take a backward step for a second. Someone's been homeless for 10 years, living out on the streets, being rejected by the whole family, has no one to turn to, doesn't feel loved, doesn't feel cared for, and you just throw them into a house. Their internal environment hasn't shifted whatsoever. Internally, they still think they're homeless, bro. They still think they're not loved. They still think that they don't deserve what's in front of them. So the internal environment hasn't shifted whatsoever, but the external environment, they're living in this house now, that's cool. What's going to happen? 2-3 months passes, the external environment will always replicate the internal environment.
Exactly. It's past trauma.
Yeah.
To an extent.
So they end up homeless again, bro. So the government, personally, I think they need to do more in getting these people the help that they need internally and externally. Not so much focus on the external, but a lot more focus on the internal.
Yeah, internal. Yeah, and that's one thing I advocate for, is, mental health. It's so important. And one thing I like to bring up as well, I think this is something that definitely needs to be touched on, is definitely like our soldiers, obviously going to enemy territories and, seeing what you'd witness down there would be traumatic, 100%. Yeah. And, to come back, it's a whole different environment, from something that's, you're on the enemy lines.
Yeah.
I've got friends that have, recently gone to the army. I've wished them luck, and God be with them and everything. But one thing that should be put in place is, having communities based in mental health, even men's mental health.
Yeah.
Men's mental health is not recognized enough. It really isn't.
Man.
And it's like, like what you're saying before. Don't cry. You're a man.
Yeah.
But it's normal to cry. It's normal to let your emotions out. If you want to cry on your, on your best friend's shoulder, at least you're laying it all out, and you could be there for each other. To have institutes like that, not just like a hotline, but a community where you feel welcome, like a family.
Absolutely.
And something that I'll bring it back to, the topic is, we should have these, like a shelter where all the homeless get together, talk about what's happened on, every week, or what's happened each day. And to an extent, journaling what's been happening each day, so then they can look and be like, how can I improve as a person, or what should be put in place to help all of us grow?
Yeah,
I feel like that's so important, and it's just neglected.
A lot of people that have been to the war end up homeless. My brother went to the war, and when he came back, mate, he wasn't in a good place. The army doesn't do enough. They're like disposable people. And still to this day, my brother struggles, man. God love him. He's the strongest person I know because of what he's been through. But the army doesn't do enough, and there are a lot of army vets that are out on the street and doing that sort of thing. It's not good. There's not enough support out there. There really isn't. And something that I'm really working on at the moment is getting a men's retreat happening soon. So I hope that I can get that going and getting people out there, because did you know last month was Men's Mental Health Month? Did you know that?
Yeah, I was aware of that.
You did? I didn't know about that until like the 10th day in.
Wow.
Second week in, because you know what was happening on the same month? Pride Month.
Oh, Pride Month.
Pride Month on the same month as Men's Mental Health Month. Are you joking me?
Wow.
Like, that's unacceptable. Like, for me, man, it's like, where is the respect for the men that are in this world?
Exactly.
But then we got this feminist movement on the side, and I think, look, I'm sorry if I upset anybody when I say.
Oh no, be truthful.
But the feminist movement has ripped men down so much that we have lost our identity. It's the truth. We have lost our identity in who we are meant to be.
I feel like we've lost our masculinity to a sense. Our masculinity.
That's our identity right there. Our masculinity. Now, there are bad masculine people out there. Don't get me wrong. That want control and... No, that's not what I'm talking about.
No.
Men, we are leaders. We're providers, right? And now within this day and age is like women go, I don't need no man and I'm fine. Who built the office that you're in? Who built the house that you live in?
Yeah.
Who built the car? You don't need no man? Okay, cool. Go and build your own house. Go. Men, don't go out every single day to do the jobs, like become a bricklayer, take out like a bin man or whatever it is, to oppress women. We do that to provide for our family.
Exactly, providers.
Yeah, we're providers.
Provides to the world, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you want equality, you guys go out and do bricklaying then. Go out, take the bins out, do what you need to do. Women are designed to be loving, nurturing people. That's what women make a house a home. Men provide. That's how it should be.
100%.
I love that there is women out there that are like working and doing amazing things and business owners, and I love that. I do love that.
100%.
But at the same token, a lot of women that are doing that sort of thing end up losing their feminine side, their natural feminine side of it, to become mothers and all that. I know many women that are in their 40s now that regret not having children. because all they focused on was their career. The feminine lie told them that that's what they should be focusing on. It's not. It's actually not. The most fulfilling thing for a woman to be able to do is to be a mother.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
amazing.
It is.
Women, embrace your feminine side, your natural feminine side that is there to be loving, nurturing, to turn a house into a home. And I'm not saying, oh no, women don't belong. I'm not saying that.
No, you're not.
But there's different elements. Men and women aren't the same. We aren't the same, and that's beautiful. That's the beautiful thing about men and women. We aren't the same.
We're very different.
We are very different.
Very different.
And this is what pisses... I'm sorry for throwing. What annoys me about this trans movement, right?
Mm.
And I'm going to get into this, and I'm sorry if this upsets anybody.
Oh, no.
But
Go for it, man.
men aren't women, and they can't be women. Women are unique and beautiful. I saw something the other day. Is that there's a charity over in the UK that is trying to advocate for vaginas to be called bonus holes now, to protect the trans men that are out there so they don't get offended.
Oh, no.
Are you joking me?
Oh,
What about the women out there that are offended? Are we thinking about that whatsoever? Bonus holes. What's the normal hole?
We've become so sensitive to every word. Like, we can't even express ourselves now without being cancelled or cancel culture, coming right up. Oh, yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying that's what people do. They try and bring us down when we're trying to actually, spread truth.
Yep.
Spread truth to the problems that are actually right in front of us. And the fact that you're putting it out there saying, this is not right. And,
Yep.
there should be something done.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
Women need to stand up for this. Not just men.
Everyone.
Absolutely.
Everyone, yeah.
Women need to be more vocal because they're the ones that are under attack.
Yeah, definitely.
You see men that I saw a story the other month. He's like, men now can get their periods. What? I'm 33 years old and I'm still yet to get my period, man. I'm just going to put it out there. Like, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
What?
So we are, the womanhood is under attack. And children are under attack.
Yes.
You see you see videos of men, grown-ass old men in undies shaking their ass in front of children.
No, it's ridiculous.
I will not stand for that.
No.
I will stand up against that.
100%.
And if they want to come against me for that, then let it be. But I will not let our children and our next generation be objectified and be shown that sort of stuff, man. I will stand firm against my beliefs and I will say that is wrong.
I feel like
everyone needs to.
I feel like we should all be obligated to spread a positive message, and we should shield especially children from this
100%.
from this stuff. It's just horrific.
I don't care what people do. If you want to dress up as a woman, do so. If you want to sleep with other men, do so. I don't care. I'm not homophobic and I'm not trying.
No,
I don't care. Everyone live their life as they want to live. I've got love for you. I care for you. As soon as you bring a child into this and you want to sexually exploit a child, that's where the line is drawn for me.
yeah, definitely.
I will not let that happen. Not not while I'm on this earth, man. I will stand for that.
There's actually a film coming out.
Sound of Freedom.
Yeah, that's coming out.
And they're trying to block it off everywhere in America. They're having, so I don't know if you've seen the stories, but in some cinemas they're saying, the projector broke. In some cinemas the lights are going out, the air conditioning's going out. They're purposely doing that. So
Tampering with it.
yeah, tampering with the cinemas, man. So there's a couple of movies coming out. There's Sound of Freedom, and then Mel Gibson is bringing out a 4-part documentary about sex trafficking within Hollywood.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's going to be another big one.
That is really gonna unveil a lot of shit that's been happening, under the covers.
But seeing those men shaking their ass in front of children is then feeding into that pedophilia sort of side of things. No child should ever be exposed to anything sexual.
Mm-mm.
Ever.
Never.
Yeah, it's what purpose is there behind that? There's no purpose but trying to exploit those children and then feed them into that. I'm sorry, man, but I'm sorry if this upsets anybody, but actually I'm not sorry at the same time.
No, don't be sorry. No, don't be sorry.
As a community and as a worldwide thing, our obligation is to protect children because they are vulnerable. They need to be cared for. They need to be loved. They need to be protected from evil. And that's what this is. This is evil.
It is pure evil.
It is pure
It's evil at its finest. And, sometimes to spread love, you have to spread the truth.
Yep.
And a lot of people, won't like the truth. But you know what? An obligation to your spirit is, okay, I need to prevent these things from happening. And to prevent these things from happening, I need to spread the word. I need to spread the word that, there is light in this world. There's not just darkness. If you think there's darkness all around us, then you're not.
That's what you see.
That's all you'll see.
Yeah.
That's all you'll see. And when you start shedding light on what's happening, people can actually look and be like, okay, no, this is something we shouldn't allow. This is something that we need to put a stop to.
Yeah.
And then that's where the good can start building.
Do you want to know the most confronting thing and the upsetting thing for me is that, so I'm very vocal on this on my social media, right? And I put a story up the other week. A guy wearing a shirt, "Trans kids are sexy." That's what the shirt said. And do you know how much hate I got for that? You're homophobic, you're transphobic. I'm like, 1 second, you guys are completely missing why I've put this up. Look what he's wearing. He's saying trans kids are sexy. I put another story up of some trans people at a daycare center for children in G-strings, in high heels, literally stripping in front of them and dancing in front of them. And I just thought to myself, how is this okay? If I walked into a childhood or a child center, a daycare center, and there was a woman stripper in there doing that, would she be locked up, or what would happen to that people? But because it's a trans thing, it's okay. It's not okay.
It's not okay.
It's actually not okay.
No, it's not.
And for us to be sexual, having kids see this sort of stuff is not okay. It's actually not.
Actually, one thing I touched on with a guest I had before, he's very, very faithful as well, and he believes in a lot of this stuff, and he's very vocal. He was very vocal in the last episode that I had. He talked about pornography, and how at a young age, and I guess it has become a normality, like what we were saying before. It's become a normality in this day and age. You're really feeding into your dopamine effects. When you see that at such a young age, and bring it back to that, when you're seeing that at such a young age, that's actually imprinted in your brain.
100%.
And the dopamine effects that it can have later on in life, and how that can actually transition you from childhood to adulthood. It's scary to think.
Absolutely.
And going back to what you're saying, what I was saying, sometimes if you want to spread love, you have to spread the truth.
Yeah.
This is the things that we have to shield away from kids.
Yep.
And kids need to be, brought up in a nurturing environment. By all means, I think, sometimes it's good to go through tribulation and failures,
Yeah.
I think that's what makes life so unique. You have to go through those things in order to build your character. I'll always refer back to that, is building your character. It's so important. But I feel like we need to shelter kids, especially from that. It's horrible to hear.
Absolutely, mate. So Target put a clothing line out for trans kids and all this sort of thing, and sexualizing children, and they got cancelled by the opposite. So Americans stopped shopping at Target. They lost $12 billion within the first 2 weeks. 12 billion, not million, billion in 2 weeks. I'm not sure what it's sitting at now. But the world is standing up, and the world is getting angry about it, but we do need to definitely become more vocal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There was a sex book for children in Big W recently that got taken out. There was a story this morning that came out that they put a thing out. Big W apologizes because of the backlash that is caused. A book for children about sex, and it pretty explicit too. Why? What's the agenda? What are you guys doing that for?
We try and do brainwash our children to a sense.
That's it, man. That's it. That's essentially what it is. It's almost like a brainwashing. I get very angry and very frustrated and passionate.
Oh, no.
But man, it's just, for me, it's just I have children for myself, but when I do, I don't want them coming into a world that's going to be having sex predators all around them.
And that's exactly right. I have an uncle, and he's very, vocal on problems and issues that are happening around the world. He posts it all up. He makes sure he educates, the people in his community, because he owns his own gym. And he's made it a very safe place.
Yeah.
And he's got he's got a family of himself, and, long story short, he's taught his kids right.
Yeah.
He's shown, the problems that are happening around the world.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he shelters them away from that, because it's not it's not a world that, kids should be brought up in. And going back to, bringing kids, into the world, it's God's beautiful gift.
Absolutely.
It really is. You're bringing another life form onto this world. And the thing that we all need to do is to just, build everything up.
Yeah.
Build everything up, shelter and silence what's going on around. Well, not silence, but, reveal what's happening.
Yeah.
And cancel it.
Absolutely.
That's really...
I thought of something the other day. It's that the left, like all those people, they're against life. They're for abortions. They're for castrating children. They're for chopping their privates off and all that sort of stuff. They're for, like, they hate life, essentially. They're hating the reproduction of life.
Yeah.
Where people that are on the opposite side, the right wing or whatever you want to call it, like even in between,
Yeah.
they are people that want life. I believe that in order for us to continue civilization and continue this world and continue growing this world into a better place, we need to protect children. We need to protect the next generation. We need to protect ourselves. Now, I'm not trying to spread hate here. Believe me, I'm not. From the bottom of my heart, I hope this comes across in a way that I absolutely love everybody. I don't care how you live your life. I really don't. If you want to do that sort of thing, that's completely fine. That's not fine by me, and I'm not going to live my life like that. And if you tell me to call you anything else but as you are a man or a woman, I'm not going to do that. That's my choice. But at the end of the day, when it comes to protecting our children, I will always protect our children.
You'll stand for that.
I will stand for that. And if it's a sword that I have to fall on and die on, then I'm happy to do that. I don't care. If you guys want to try to cancel me. It doesn't bother me, because I believe I'm very passionate about this, and I need to be very passionate about this, because then it gives others the platform and the courage to stand up and do that themselves.
I've always looked back at history, because it's always good to look back at what made us us. What really made us, human.
Yeah.
What was the obstacles back then that, people had to face? And if we're talking back into the Roman days, and my background being Greek, I always look back at, like, that movie 300, the Spartans against the Persians, how this magnanimous, army, they're literally facing death.
Yeah.
300 soldiers against 1 million Persians, and you're thinking, this is impossible. This is like the whole world against them.
Yeah.
But what did they do? They stood their ground regardless.
Yeah.
Whether, towards the end they all died, but they stood their ground and they said, no, we're going to persevere. However many men we lose or whatever we face, we're going to stand as a brotherhood.
Yeah.
We're going to stand there and persevere. I always look back at history, what made us us, and the greats that were, before us. And I just look back at that and just think, I have to have, and going back to masculinity, I have to have that, that dog, that manhood that makes me, because I want to be, someone that represents something good.
Yeah.
And, sometimes in life you have to see things, and especially if, you can relate to that, you have to see things to, really iron your character and make you who you are.
Yeah.
Do you look back at, like, certain individuals that have, become an inspiration to you towards life?
Still alive or past tense? That are still alive today, or that, like, in past tense or in history or whatever?
Oh, in history, past tense.
To be honest, I haven't really looked at anybody else's life. There is somebody that I like. I love Jordan Peterson now. I love Tony Robbins, those sort of people.
Yeah,
if I'm to live anybody's life, like if I'm trying to replicate anybody's life within that I know of, it's Jesus. Like Jesus is Jesus. Like the way he loved people, the way he cared for people, the way he stood firm for what he believed on he's like 0 to none. Like that's who I want to be. I live my life and I fall short all the time. Don't get me wrong. Still get angry, still get frustrated, still swear sometimes.
It's human emotion.
It is human emotions, but I'm trying to then better myself every day through that. But all I can possibly do is just try my hardest to spread love and be loving and be caring for people. But at the same token, I still need to stand firm for what I believe in. And that's where I think we need to, as a society, go to, and what we need to do more. Because what you're saying is that, yeah, our backs might be against the wall or whatever, but we're not going to surrender. And we can't surrender. And all we can do is, like, I look back through my life, man. And to be honest, there's so many moments that I can look back through and think to myself, man, I can't believe I got through that. But in those moments, we think to ourselves that we can't get through it. The human soul is so resilient. And it breaks my heart to think that there's men out there and women out there that are just ending their lives, man. It's almost guilt. We always feel guilty now to be masculine, and it goes against everything that we believe in, man. Like we're created to be masculine, but masculine these days is a negative thing.
It's being attacked.
Yeah, it's being attacked. Like, oh, you're masculine. You're such an idiot for being masculine. No, I'm a masculine man means that I don't degrade other people. I don't put other people down. I don't try and oppress a woman or anything. Being masculine means I provide, I'm assertive, I'm a leader, and that's all I need to do, bro. Like, I don't care what people think about me. So the topic that, like, there's a topic out there, Andrew Tate.
Yeah, I was literally about to bring him up.
Man, so many people hate him. You ask him why they hate him. Oh, he said some really some bigger things and some things that are against women. Okay, what did he say? Oh, like, I don't know. Okay. I think Andrew Tate spreads a good word sometimes, but he doesn't know how to deliver it at times. So he's telling men to be masculine. Again, our masculinity is being attacked, right? So when he said something that I think was taken completely out of context. He said men look for younger women now because like, they don't want somebody that's gone through a lot of stuff or anything like that, and they haven't been through so much. That's what he said. He says essentially said they haven't slept around as much, right?
Okay, right.
So how I've taken that is that women look to a man's future to determine if he's going to be a good partner.
Yeah.
Men look to a woman's past to determine if they're going to be a good wife.
Mm.
And that's all I'm going to say on the subject is that, like, women, if you want to find yourself a husband, be a decent woman. Are you a wife? Are you a mother material? And husbands and men, if you want to be a husband, are you a husband now? You can't just meet somebody and expect to become a husband. You have to train yourself to be a husband now. Are you sleeping around? Are you doing things that you shouldn't do? All this sort of thing. That's the stuff that you've got to really look at. So for me, I've got to myself to a point where I don't sleep around, I don't hook up, I don't do all that sort of thing because I want to become a husband. And I'm training myself now to not to even look at other women. Pornography for many years, I was a prisoner to it. And it imprisoned me. And I wasn't, like, I would hook up with a girl, this was like many years ago, and then I wouldn't feel like I was fulfilled because it didn't give me that same dopamine that pornography does. Pornography is evil.
It is.
It's evil, man. It really is. And if there's anyone watching it that has a pornography addiction, get help for it. Speak up about it. So this men's thing that I'm trying to get going, I want this to be a safe space where men can talk about this sort of thing. Because I believe that once we talk about it, it breaks the stronghold that it has over us.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's 100% truthful. Like, you know, going back onto the topic of Andrew Tate as well, I think because he's such a high profile, person within the whole space, you know, he really is judged for his actions. Yeah. But if you take that all away, if he was just a man without this whole platform behind him, I think the whole message really is, you know, masculinity is being attacked.
Yeah. And
men should stand up for themselves. Men should be men. Men shouldn't be something that they're not meant to be.
Agree.
And we should be, just strong, independent, leaders, leading, a nation, leading a community, being the front men of what makes the world so great and beautiful and passionate.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more there, man. It's like men are the ones that get sent to war, not women. Men get sent to war to protect. So that shows that we are there to lead and to protect and to provide for our family, provide a safe space, protect and make sure that they're all looked after. And that shows, man. It shows us that men have that. We physically and biologically we're stronger. This is how we're created. We're created to lead like that, right? Now, women, and what I love about this, there's a new wave of feminine movement coming through now. That women are actually stepping into their feminine energy. They're wanting to become mums. They're wanting to become like people that stay home and look after their family and all that. And I love that, man. I've met a lot of women recently that are really stepping into that.
Just all that matters is that you love God, and that's the best thing about it.
Yeah, you smile.
Yeah.
Through the hard times, whether it's sad, you smile.
Yeah. People chase happiness for what? Happiness is circumstantial. So things need to be good in your life for you to be happy. Joy is not like that. I'm joyous every day just from waking up. I got gratitude for that. I got gratitude for food on my table.
Yeah.
I got gratitude for a roof over my head. I got gratitude for a bed to sleep in. Gratitude for family and friends, man, and loved ones. And I got gratitude, so much gratitude, bro. Gratitude is the key to joy. Because once you realize that you're actually a lot more blessed than you thing to believe, your life begins to shift. You stop looking at what you don't have, and you just look at what you do have, and then everything else comes from that. It really is a phenomenal place to be, man.
That's beautiful, man. Honestly, it's a good message to really end off this episode.
Yeah.
You know, I think from everything we've talked about, tribulations you face in life, you know, and how we should, you know, as men power and, you know, shelter the things that are going on around the world, and, you know, just really becoming a community, giving back to the community, you know, what you went through, but then now coming on the other end and helping the people that are in those situations. It's beautiful, man. And, you know, I'd like to thank you for coming onto the show. It's been a really good episode.
Thank you, man.
And
I want to say thank you for stepping out and bringing stories like mine to life and then letting the world to see them. And it takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing. And I just want to encourage you, bro. Don't stop.
Nah, I won't.
The world needs voices like mine out there.
No,
and you're given the platform to do that. So well done.
Exactly. No, thank you so much.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And till the next one. Ciao.
See you guys.
See ya.